Hey everyone, Shaun Stevenson here, author of the Throne series, and oh wow, this Goosebumps book. I don't even know what to say. I am today reviewing Cry of the Cat, Goosebumps Series 2000, book number 1. And wow, I was not prepared for this book. In fact, I have been trying to decide if this is my favorite Goosebumps book yet. Out of all the Goosebumps books I have read, this might be at the top, I think. So let's talk about it. So Cry of the Cat is the first book in the Series 2000 Goosebumps series, which I feel like, just to jump off right at the start here, Goosebumps, the original series, had been going for 62 volumes, which is a lot of entries. And I don't want to say R.L. Stine was getting a little tired as he was writing that series, but some of the ones that seem to be a part of the later entries are a little bit lackluster, and obviously they didn't sell as well as the earlier series. So the series needed this refresh in Series 2000. So when Series 2000 came out and R.L. Stine gave us Cry of the Cat, I feel like this was almost a refresh for R.L. Stine in some ways, because R.L. Stine suddenly seems to have a lot of ideas and energy, and this book is a lot more serious and a lot more violent than many of the other Goosebumps books. Granted, the human characters are never part of the violence. It is all related to this cat that is sort of a ghost, maybe, but it still was really gruesome for a Goosebumps book, and I, the whole time, kept thinking, whoa, we just did that? That is something that just happened in this storyline? That is really intense, and I was not expecting that at all. So what is Cry of the Cat about? Well, in this book, Ryan and Allison are on their way to the school when Allison, as she's riding her bike, hits a cat. She hits this cat, and I'm not going to even go into the description of what happens when she hits this cat with her bike, because I thought it was really disgusting. And so she hits this cat, she believes she has killed it, and so she's so sad, she's really heartbroken about it, and it's right in front of this really creepy house. So she goes over to this house, and Ryan, he runs ahead on his bike because he doesn't want to be late. So he heads out, and Allison heads over to this house where there's this girl named Crystal who tells her that she has just hit the wrong cat. And the cat, she tells her, is named Rip. And Rip is not an ordinary cat, according to Crystal. Well, all of a sudden, though, Rip seems to be alive again. And so what comes after this is Allison just comes across Rip over and over again, and Rip keeps getting killed in different ways, and every time he seems to come back to life. But then something strange happens. Rip scratches Allison, and now Allison's feeling a little strange. Things are not quite what they have seemed to be before, and something is happening to Allison. That is all I will say about the plot of this book, because it goes there in some really creepy ways. I thought the ending was just so well done. It was action-packed. I think what also was great about this is the quote-unquote monster is really early on introduced. You have a very creepy situation where there's this cat, and I think we've all had a moment with a cat where, some cats are nice and all that sort of thing, but we've all had a moment with a cat that just kind of stares at us and is kind of watching us and is a little bit off and a little creepy. And that is totally what this book is playing into. Just the what is going on in that cat's mind sort of idea. And it is terrifying. What happens, especially in the end of this book, I was not prepared for. There are some really creepy scenes where Allison and Ryan come across some other characters who also have had run-ins with this cat named Rip, and things did not turn out very well for them. And so I think that this book had a really well done plot, a well done plot twist. I was not expecting anything that happened at the end. I kind of had a guess of what might happen, and I guess what happened in the end was similar to what I was thinking would happen, but it wasn't what it was. And so I thought that was really well done. There's also a wonderfully written scene in a pet cemetery later on in the book that I thought was just so well written. I was actually kind of surprised because R.L. Stine is not really always known for his prose and his writing ability as far as like setting a scene, but he does a great job with plots and giving us some interesting characters, things like that. So it was really, really interesting to see him really set the scene of this pet cemetery in such a perfect way. And what happens in that scene is wonderful. It was like all the sorts of creepiness you want in a Goosebumps book. It was just scary enough that it just kept you going. You wanted to keep reading, see what happened next. It was great. Allison as a character, I think, is actually a very well written character. You know, sometimes Goosebumps characters can be a little bit bland, like they're kind of like typical kid in typical neighborhood. And so I feel like R.L. Stine did a good job with Allison, giving her some personality, some interesting character traits, and then having her go through this whole experience, because she definitely is changed by this in a lot of ways, and it is so well done. So if this is where Series 2000 goes, I am so excited and I am here for it, because I actually kind of liked that this book was a little edgier than previous Goosebumps books. You know, some of the previous Goosebumps books, sometimes they meander so long, nothing really ever happens to the last 20 pages. And even then, it's not super duper scary in any sense. This almost reminded me a little more of a Shivers book, if I'm being honest. Shivers books by M.D. Spencer, those books are a lot more intense than Goosebumps. Oftentimes, M.D. Spencer takes those stories to levels that are questionable for children, in the sense of they're really scary, and I felt like this book edged towards that. Not totally there. It's still Goosebumpsy. You still have a lot of the similar formula, but it definitely moved in that direction instead of towards some of the more goofier Goosebumps books. And even like the newer House of Shivers books have been so far. This book was definitely the kickoff that I needed for a new Goosebumps book. And yes, so my favorite Goosebumps book has so far been The Headless Ghost. But I think Cry of the Cat has unseated it. I think Cry of the Cat is now my favorite Goosebumps book, and Headless Ghost has gone to number 2. I really liked this book. It was definitely exciting, it was entertaining, and really well done. So at the end of the day, I'm going to give Cry of the Cat a 4.5 stars out of 5. There was still... I wish I hadn't quite been able to totally guess a piece of the ending. I wish it had been even more of a surprise, but I think it still was really well done. And that's the only reason for that tiny half star that's not there. Otherwise, I think I would have given this 5 stars, but this is a 4.5 for me. I really, really enjoyed it. This is the R.L. Stine Goosebumps book that I really wanted. So I'm excited to read more Goosebumps Series 2000. I have another one. I have The Haunted Car, which I haven't read yet, and I don't have any other Series 2000 books yet. I need to collect some more. So as of this recording, I'm going to be on the lookout for more of these Series 2000 books, because if they're like this, I am super excited to read more of them. So have you read Cry of the Cat? This one is definitely a well-written Goosebumps book. I really enjoyed it. This is one that, for me, is near the top. It is the top. So until next time, everybody, keep reading. Bye!